many in friendship, and if they go wrong, you will never, ever, ever live it down. What am I talking about? Wedding speeches.
Well, all might not be lost, though. Derek Carter says that he can turn you from a quivering mess into public speaking perfection, and we're going to recruit some Ireland AM viewers who will be learning how to deliver the perfect wedding speech. But first, let's take a look at a not-so-perfect speech.
Ah, great. The speech is...
Pray silence for the best man.
When Bernard told me he was getting engaged to Lydia, I congratulated him because all his other girlfriends have been such complete dogs. Although, may I say how delighted we are to have so many of them here this evening. I'm particularly delighted to see Camilla, who many of you will probably remember as the first person Bernard asked to marry him. If I remember rightly, she told him to sod off. And lucky for Lydia that she did.
Oh, cringeworthy, Derek. It can be the best thing someone ever does or the worst thing they ever do.
You're right, it's kind of sink or swim, you know. I suppose there is a bit of a myth that people are born into being able to public speak or to do this kind of thing, but I do kind of believe that it's something you can learn. This is a perfect example, you know, where people try and sort of turn it into a bit of a gag fest to make everybody laugh, and these are perfectly funny, but, you know, the things that he was saying were probably maybe not quite so appropriate for the people that were in the audience, you know, that's the problem.
Well, of course, he committed the ultimate faux pas in terms of wedding speech, because what he's doing is he's talking about, for start off, I know it's the couple's day, but really it's the woman's day, it's the girl's day.
Yes.
And the one thing you do not do is refer to other girls.
Exactly.
On her
They don't
day.
exist.
There is only one girl on that day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's no number one, and if you can manage to avoid that pitfall, you're probably doing okay. But if you do put your foot in that one, then there's no getting out of it, really, is there?
Well, that's it, you know, the last thing you want to do is kind of have a blunder like that at the very start, and then your confidence sinks, and everybody's kind of looking at you, and the speech is lost then at that stage.
Because we've all been there at a wedding when it's plumbed, and it's just...
The silence is
definitely... awful. And you can feel the person dying and slowly shrinking up there. And that's, I think a lot of that is nerves, though. People don't take that into account. They've got it all ready to go, and nerves kick in, and everything just goes, shuts down.
And this is the thing, you know, everybody experiences nerves in exactly the same way, you know, even seasoned kind of speakers or presenters and everything like that still feel these nerves, but it's just that they've learned the methods to cope with them and to still actually be able to do the speech or to, you know, make the presentation or whatever it might be.
Okay, we're obviously mentioning other women on the ladies' big day is probably the number one.
Indeed.
Forget that. Other no-nos.
Apart from the kind of the really big ones, you know, particularly when we come to weddings, you know, with fellas, the best men and things like that, a lot of bravado and kind of egging each other on, you know, apart from the really big ones like making lewd jokes or things like that, or having too many drinks beforehand in the hopes of really relaxing, it's not a help. I suppose the main crimes that I would talk people through in terms of making a speech is that people, when they're nervous, they have an inclination to try and rush through it. I'll be okay if I just kind of hurry, you know, and, you know, that's really a sign of nerves, and people need to get over that, and the only way to get over that is to practice a lot. Another one really is when people are reading, they've prepared the speech ahead of time, and they just look down and read the speech, and they kind of think, if I just shut out the outside world, everything will be okay. Yes, it's not real if I just keep looking at my notes. So I call those the surread-a-lots, you know, that they just kind of look down.
And usually delivered in a monotone as well.
Yeah, exactly, and it's kind of just like this and keep the head down, and painful to watch, you know, and yet they feel so much emotion about the event and they're so happy and everything, but it's just the nerves that are kicking in, you know.
What should people do? Because often that happens, you feel, especially like fathers, and they become overwhelmed by emotion, and maybe it's easier for girls to handle that, but guys aren't used to breaking down in tears in the middle of a speech. Why should they just accept it and that's fine, or...?
I think the thing about the fellas is we're not, especially in Ireland, I think, we're not very good at acknowledging that emotion. We sort of just ignore, and then it just builds up then, that when we try to say something for the speech, then it all kind of comes out then in a sort of a bunch of nerves, and maybe even kind of shed a tear or something like that, and we don't know what's happening to us at all. So you know, there's the head down to try and ignore that. There's, you know, speeding through it. There's fiddling. You know, when we're nervous, we have an awful habit of, whether it's jingle jangle with the change in the pocket, or especially with microphones at a wedding, it's kind of messing with the cable. And
the amount of what I would, and I don't mean this rudely, right, but the amount of ordinary punters, people who are not used to microphones and PA systems, who seem to become, I don't know, bewitched by them, either terrified or they become mesmerised. They don't know quite what to do with it. And they either mumble or they... Oh, can you hear me back there?
Exactly.
And people are blowing
and
eardrums,
you can hear their heartbeat and almost,
anyway, right, okay, things that would...
how do we make it better?
Yeah, how do we make it better?
Well, that's the good news. There is hope. You know, I firmly believe that the skills can be learned. And the way I approach it is, in my No More Nerves programme, I've devised a cadet model, and that basically is an acronym where I start by, the very first thing to look at ahead of time is the content. Okay, so C for content, you need to say, look, what do you want to say? Rather than turning into a litany of thank you this, thank you that. And it's the same as every other speech. What do you want to say? What do you want to get across? Then you look at the words that you're using. Make sure they're words that you're comfortable with, you know.
Don't get grandiose.
Yes, exactly, you know. And this is some of the problem when people write the speech for you, that you're trying to read things that you're not comfortable with. So put thought into all of that ahead of time and prepare that. And the second bit to look at is the audience. And the VT just showed there, you know, you really need to check. And if you don't know, talk to
Grannies,
the bride or
kids.
You know, the priest's going to be there often, you know. So you check the audience for how familiar are you with them, how many of them will there be.
How many of them will know what you're actually talking about? Because, see, a lot of wedding speeches can be too in-jokes.
Too personal,
And practice.
That's it, absolutely.
Rehearse.
Okay.
Absolutely, ahead of time and out loud.
Okay, you've made it all sound very simple, very easy. And for those who can do it, it's a breeze. It's
we
not
take
a bother.
it for granted.
But, you know, 99%
it can make or break a
of people
wedding, though.
It
really can. That
Especially if it's been videoed.
Okay, well now, have you got a wedding coming up, and are you petrified about your speech? Well, maybe your whole wedding party is as well, and family and friends. So what we're going to do is we're going to look to recruit people that Derek will coach from start to finish, and then indeed we'll be there on the big day to see how it helped, or indeed if it helped you, wow your guests with your oratorical skills. So if you'd like Derek to help you, you can write to us at No More Nerves, Ireland AM, TV3, Westgate, I beg your pardon, Business Park, Ballymount Open 24, or indeed you can email us at irelandm@tv3.ie, and we will vet you thoroughly.
There'll be people clamouring for that, I tell you.
We'll be looking for the worst ones in this instance, and then we'll hand them over to Derek's tender mercies and we'll see what happens.
Derek, thanks very much for the